Hey, Uncle Roddus here. In another video time again, and it's record store day. Hey, we've just got back from town about an hour ago. Record store day in Christchurch at Penny Lane is 50% off everything in shop, apart from the record store day releases. We got there earlier this year. Last year I was an hour. We didn't get there till about 9 o'clock. They'd already been open for about an hour. Still did fairly well last year. This year I had actually more funds available, but although in the end I didn't actually end up spending quite so much. Well, similar amount, but I didn't get quite so much this year. I was going for a bit more. Some of the records were a bit more expensive than last year, but still getting them for half price. So yeah, and then I went to a different shop afterwards. So we got to Penny Lane right on, pretty much on 8 o'clock, and the doors were opening just as we pulled up. They've got a front and a back entrance. There were two queues, one at each door. Probably 50 odd or more people poured into the shop right on 8 o'clock. And actually interesting, most of them, a large percentage of them went straight for the new bins. I mean, obviously there's some into the RSD Day records, which I don't really, I'm not interested in, overpriced things. And to be honest, there was no New Zealand record store day releases. There have been some new issues, new vinyl come out over the last few days or weeks, but nothing specifically for record day, nothing specifically collectible in that aspect. So that was fine. I'd been into Penny Lane about a week and a half or so ago, or 2 weeks ago, and had a look around the shop, and I'd spotted some records that I was interested in, so I was hoping that they were still going to be there. I think with a 50% off, and I've said this before, I'm pretty sure with 50% off they will actually remove some items from the shelves that they really just can't afford to sell at half price. But it's actually very surprising how much of the new stuff was still in there, and there was some in the New Zealand bins. Most of it I already had. Some of it I only just bought recently, but I still got discounts of the NES sale at flying out. So yeah, we got in the door, and the shop was absolutely chocker. There was more. I think I was talking to Gary at the counter. He reckoned it was like that last year, but to be honest, when I got there at 9 o'clock, I didn't think there was so many people, and the shop actually filled up a little bit later. But he said there had been a bit of a rush earlier on. As he said, there's a bunch going who are after the record store day, particularly releases. So they got their stuff and buggered off. But some of the records that I wanted were still there. Some had disappeared, either been brought or taken out of the shelf, off the shelf, like I say, because not all of them they can sell at 50% off. They'd be practically, it would actually cost them to get rid of them. So, especially some of the local releases that are brought in by the artists themselves. After we were there for about 2.5 hours, and then we went down to a place called Ride On Super Sound, which is a new kind of record shop, where the old Galaxy used to be on St Asaph Street. They really didn't. They weren't having a sale really at all. But he did give me a wee discount off the purchases. But he had some great stuff there, and I'll get to that. The guy that runs the place, he used to be the barman at the darkroom next door. He said he doesn't work in the darkroom anymore, and plus the place had been sold to new owners, which is interesting. But he said there'd still be heaps of good gigs coming on there. But he had some great records, and one in particular that I knew he had a few months back, and I was hoping it was still there, and was very surprised that it was. So I'll show that in a minute. Just quickly, what you're hearing in the background, this arrived just this week, or only a day or two ago. from the Bandcamp site. This is a Murray McNabb compilation called E-Music. It's a double LP of stuff that Murray McNabb, I've shown before. He was a jazz pianist, keyboardist in New Zealand, but later on he went into a lot more esoteric sort of music, and this is sort of the stuff. There was a compilation out that came out a couple of years back, 2 or 3 years back, of his stuff that was some unreleased, but some was on other records. You know, he was in Space Case and Dr. Tree, who I've shown records of that I've come across. Yeah, so anyway, this is on the Sarang Bang Records, which was the same label that released his last compilation. On that last compilation, there was a bunch of tracks on the second LP that were more electronic, ambient, meditative, and this is kind of more along the same lines. Really good record, lots of different types of music on here. Some droney, meditative, semi-new agey, even almost industrial in one track. Some world music influences. Really good mix of music and some really good music on this. Really enjoying it. Great packaging. Not a lot of liner notes with this one, just a little bit there. There wasn't any inserts in it. But yeah, really pleased. So that's what's playing behind me. Alright, so these are in no particular order. These are all from Penny Lane today. I have listed most of them on Discogs. There was one New Zealand one that wasn't on Discogs, so I'm going to have to look into that when I get a chance. But let's just get through these as I've got them. Right, so this is Elvin Jones. This is a record of his on Blue Note from 1972. It's called Merry Go Round. I have a few couple of three Elvin Jones records and really like him, what he does. And I'm always on the lookout for Blue Notes if I see them. So I say this is from 72, I think it was. So not 100% sure on the pressing, but I think it's like it's a original US second pressing, I think, from what I can understand on Discogs. So really pleased to do that. So yeah, that was I say half price all these records. I finally picked up a copy of this. As you know, I collect ECMs. The ECMs were a little bit thin on the floor today, but Keith Jarrett's Cologne concert, I actually have it on CD. This seems to be a fairly clean copy. It is a original German pressing. Again, you know, half price. So can't complain about that. The vinyl looks pretty clean. I haven't cleaned any of these up yet. I mean, this is a pretty familiar record. As I say, I have it on CD. I bought a few today that I have on CD. Because I've been collecting ECMs, I am very keen on collecting a lot of the earlier ECMs from the 70s and 80s. And I didn't have this one, so I thought I might as well. I didn't have it on vinyl, so I might as well get it. And actually, it's not the only one I did. I did the same for this one, Keith Jarrett's solo concerts in Bremen and Lausanne. I again have this on CD. This is the original 3-album box set, and to be honest, this has actually been sitting on the shelves at Penny Lane for 2 or 3 years, and no one's ever bought it. And I mean, the vinyl looks pretty clean. I mean, the price on it is a little bit dearer than what you'd probably, you know, on Discogs, especially I guess from the States where these are a lot more common. I see it's not hugely expensive. Of course, I got it for half the price on the sticker, so I'm pretty happy with that. Again, that's the German issue, the actual original German issue. And then the last of the ECMs, really the only ones they had there were Keith Jarrett ones, apart from a couple that I already had that I spotted in different places. There are a few floating around where they shouldn't have been. The shop's going to be a real chaos after today, because there were a lot of people going around and putting records back on in just random places. They pick out, and I did something similar. I picked out a whole bunch of records, and they were getting a bit heavy, so I stuck them. Gary let me put them behind the counter on the shelf there, and then I went through them all later on and took back about half a dozen that I really didn't need to buy. But I actually did put them back in the right bins, roughly where I was. But some people were just chucking them back in all sorts of bins. So the shop's going to be pretty chaotic for the next week or so until they get it all resorted. But such a big stock there. I said to Gary, you know, you're selling all these records today, and yet it doesn't even seem to make a dent in your stock. Anyway, this is another Keith Jarrett with Dewey Redman, Charlie Hayden, and Paul Moten. ECM T1150. This is from 1979. This is a US released version. This is a 3-sided record. That's a pretty nice lineup, so this is going to be quite interesting. I've got a couple of Jarrett records from around this time with these sort of guys, and they are pretty damn good. So again, the vinyl looks pretty damn good. So again, half price of the sticker, so you know you can't complain about that. The first record that I got to today, and I knew it was in the shelf, and I really didn't expect it to still be there. As I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they take some of the records out of the shelf that they really can't afford to sell, but maybe that's more the new stuff, and it's certainly the really, really new releases. I'd seen this the other day, and I didn't really think it was going to be still there. I mean, it had a $50 on it, which isn't too bad, but I mean, I know you can get them a lot cheaper off Discogs. This, I believe, is close to an original record reissue. I guess it's from the States, with they're looking at the numbers on it. I do have this on CD. I used to have an original or a near original copy of this many years ago. It is my second favourite of the Zappa Mothers records after Freak Out. I will eventually get another copy of Freak Out on vinyl. I do have it on CD as well as this one. So I got this for $25, so I can't complain about it. And the vinyl actually looks really good. The cover's got it's a bit worn around the edges and that. But yeah, this looks like an original Verve issue. But I'll have a closer look one day. I mean, on Discogs sometimes I just pick the nearest version. It might not be accurate, just for adding to my collection, and then if I ever go to sell them on Discogs, I could just, you know, confirm. Another one that was a bit more pricier that I bought today, I spotted this one, Hatfield in the North, you know, one of the Canterbury bands. This is actually, according to Discogs, this is a reissue. It's still on Virgin, but the year of the reissue is unknown according to the Discogs listing. But this was the one that matched the OVED 131. It was right at the bottom of the list on Discogs. So Richard Sinclair, of course, I know he was in and Pit Pile. Yeah, quite familiar names. I haven't actually ever heard of any of these guys, any of this music. But I've heard of them. Of course, Robert Wyatt's on here, and Jeff Lee of Henry Cow. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to hearing that. So yeah, I see there's a $50 price tag on that second hand, but I got it for $25, so that was quite a nice little score. So that's the first one of these I've ever heard. I don't have a lot of the Canterbury stuff, to be honest. I do have some Soft Machine, of course, one on vinyl and a few on CD. So I did reasonably good on the jazz today. So a couple of free Blue Notes. Always on the lookout for Blue Notes. I got quite a collection of the recent issue Blue Notes, but I haven't bought any for a while. But they're really good. You know, the 75th anniversary reissues. This is actually a New Zealand issue of a Blue Note. It's actually a World Record Club, released by a World Record Club in New Zealand, 1982. I can't actually remember recorded in 1952, 53. Yeah, so it recorded way back then. I'm not sure what the actual original release of this is on Blue Note, but this is a reissue via World Record Club. JJ Johnson, Jackie McLean, Art Blakely, Kenny Clark. So a pretty good lineup. Actually, JJ Johnson, there was a record of his down there on the Coronet label. It's been there a while. Another Blue Note, an original from 1969, I believe. It's a pretty near original pressing. McCoy Tyner's Expansions. Again, only paid $15 for this. You know, these. I've got another one of McCoy's records. It was one of the reissues. So yeah, I quite like his stuff. So that was really cool. There was another Blue Note down there which I already had, which was the Eric Dolphy's one. I can't remember the name of it. The most expensive record I brought today. Oh, no, it's not actually, but it could have been. This is the music on vinyl reissue of The Disposable Heroes of a Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is the Greatest Luxury. I think it's from 2015 or something like that. So it's a it's a two LP version of the record. I used to have this originally on vinyl when it came out. This is a fantastic record. I don't have a lot of hip hoppy sort of music, but this one was a particularly awesome record that I came out. So this is brand new, still sealed copy. So the original price tag was $65, which is why I don't buy a lot of international new releases or reissues, because they're just so expensive. I'll just skip that pile. That's not from the same shop. Okay, so looks like the rest of them are my New Zealand haul. So I got some New Zealand ones, and I did reasonably well out of the New Zealand bins. I did put a few back. Some of them I didn't know quite what they were. So I always collect Alan Broadbent records. He's a jazz. What does he play? What instrument does he play? I'm not actually sure. Hang on, let me have a look. I think he's a keyboardist, isn't he? God, I should know. I've got a few of his records now. I find this was, I think, his second LP. This is on Ode. SODE115 from 1979. This is, according to Discogs, his second record. So I have about 3 or 4 of his records now, so always pleased to find that. I do try and collect a bit of New Zealand jazz from the old days. Normally wouldn't buy these, they're only EPs, but I've got this one here, Sneaky Feelings, Husband House. I think James picked this one up, didn't he, down in Dunedin? I think James Buttery, when we were down here. Well, I know he picked up a Sneaky Feelings one. I can't remember what it was now. He did show it on his recent video. This is only a 3-track EP. Like I say, I don't normally buy them. See, the original price is $40, and that's a lot of money to pay for a 3-track EP. But seeing as I got it for half that, I thought... Actually, to be honest, I did think it had a few more tracks on it. Sneaky Feelings, I've got their very first release on the Dunedin Double EP. And that, but I mean to get some more of their stuff. Better Than Before is the next EP they put out after Husband House. Again, there's only about 3 or 4 tracks on here. See, this had a price tag of $50, so these obviously aren't the most available, you know. And that, again, I wouldn't have bought it for that, but seeing as I got it for half price. Flying Nun, those 2 records are on Flying Nun, so that's a nice couple of additions to my Flying Nun collection. So I'm taking a wee bit of a punt on this one. This is actually a split, I don't know, EP. So it's not. I don't think it's very long. So yeah, it looks like there's 2 tracks on one side and 1, 2, 3 on the other. Yeah, that sounds about right from my Discogs. Now, what is it? There's 2 bands, Vasifor and Sinistrius Diabolus. So this is a split EP. These are pretty much doom or death metal. I don't have much New Zealand metal. I don't know if I'm even going to like this, to be honest, if it's doom, death metal, and it's probably really growly, grunty. But let's see what I pay for that, $20. It is limited edition. It's in very, very good condition. So we'll have to see what that pans out with. So I'd seen that the other day, and I thought I'll give it a go. This one's quite a good score. This was another one that was actually $50. And I got it for half that. Jesse Harper. Jesse Harper is a well-known songwriter from New Zealand from the 60s, who also went under the name of Doug Gerboy. I can't remember. Anyway, this is actually an unofficial reissue of an album. This is from 1969. This is a 1992 reissue. According to Discogs, it's an unofficial one on Kissing Spell Records. I will probably know some of the songs because Human Instinct covered a lot of his songs, and he was tied up with them when they were in England and that. So there was a reissue of a whole lot of his stuff came out under the Doug Gerbain, which I don't have. It's on my want list. Pretty sure I don't have it. Anyway, so yeah, like I say, that was actually $50. So I probably might have hedged on it if it wasn't half price. Saying that though, yeah, I think he's very highly regarded. This is another EP, Andrew. This has been in the shop for ages, and I've seen it there many times. But I didn't realise until recently it's actually on L-Man Records, and I've shown some L-Man Records recently. I bought 3 down in Dunedin. And then when I was checking on Discogs, I saw, this is actually one of the L-Man records too. It's only a 3-track. Is it 3-track? Yeah, CD. Well, hang on. I better take that needle off there. I'll have to listen to me in silence now. There's quite a big lineup on here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 musicians on here. A few names I know. Nick Bollinger is a familiar name, and he's actually written some books about New Zealand music. And Bill Lake is quite well known, and then Dr. John Nyland, who actually has an album out on Nyland, a really nice jazz record on L-Man Records, which I picked up a while back. So I'm picking up quite a bit of the L-Man collection now. So I mean, I think there might be a 7-inch. I'm not interested in the 7 inches, but seeing as I've got the other EPs and albums, there's still a couple more I need to get, so that's cool. Some more New Zealand kind of death metal or doom metal or something. This is House of Capricorn, Morningstar Rise. House of Capricorn being the name of the band, Morningstar Rise being the name of the record. I think this is from 2015 or something, or whatever, Savant Records. So again, I no idea what this is going to be like. It was only $20, so it's actually near new. It's in pretty good nick. So that was cool. So we'll see what, like I say, I do keep my eye out for, I like to add all sorts of different types of New Zealand music to my collection, so I do keep an eye out for that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, most of it I probably don't like that much. New Beast Wars coming out soon, though. That's pretty cool. So this one here, I actually have seen this around before. This is brand new sealed. So originally $40, I got it for 20. So this is a jazz. I'm guessing it's a jazz record. I can't actually find it on. It's not on Discogs. Sorry about the reflection because it's still sealed. I haven't opened it. Anyway, it's Dan Callahan in the Jazz Quarter, and it's called Float, and I have no idea when it was released, but it was actually recorded at the Orange Studios in Christchurch, and I've been to Orange Studios because they have some jazz stuff there. There's a reasonably big lineup here. Dan's the drummer. We got Peter Stephen on bass, Scott Percy piano, Glenn Teasdale guitar, Alan Hawes on woodwinds, Michael Russell trumpet, Greg Knowles trumpet, Nicole Reddington cello, and Doug Brush. So none of those names are familiar to me, so I don't know what this is going to be like. Hopefully it's pretty cool. It is New Zealand, isn't it? Well, I'm hoping it's New Zealand. Let me say, it was recorded in Christchurch. It was in the New Zealand music bin, so I'm pretty much hoping. Picked up this one. This is, again, still sealed, LaRosa. This was their last LP. There's another one or two on vinyl I wouldn't mind picking up if I ever see them around. This is from 2015, and I think it was the last thing they did. I think it's mostly instrumental. Not sort of much information on the outside of it, but there might be vocals. It's featuring a whole bunch of different people, which quite probably are singers. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with them, but I have seen their records around, and I know Chris has played. I think I played a couple of tracks on their things on his show a few times. Anyway, this is another one that's sealed. This was a New Zealand Record Store Day release last year, and I didn't really bother with it. It's a reissue of an original record from 1990s, I think, and it wasn't ever released on vinyl, I believe. So Unitone Hi-Fi Wickedness Increased. It is sort of a dub thing. So yeah, they had several copies of this last year. I remember seeing it in there, but I didn't pick it up. It's okay. I have heard some tracks off it, and I think it's pretty cool. So, but I don't know, it wasn't something I needed to pick up at the time, so I kind of left it behind. But it's still around. I figured if I saw it this time, I'll pick it up. Because of course last year it wasn't half price, was it? It was because it was a Record Store Day release. It wasn't half price. Okay, we're still 23 minutes, so it's getting quite long. Sorry about that, but still got a few records to get through. This one here is Carb on Carb. This is their... They've only got 2 albums out, I believe. This is their first one from 2015, so this is sort of like indie sort of music. There is a new one out. I've seen it around. They might have even had a copy of it today. I'm not sure how it's going to be. I think that the new stuff is... I heard it, and I didn't think it was the greatest. This is quite interesting. There's a sort of a stencil. I don't know if you can see that on there, but is that... Oh, look at that. It's actually part of the bag. There's actually a stenciled plastic print in there. I don't think that's going to come up very well. And it actually, if you put the record in, it actually matches the record and actually fills in the record like that. Fills in the artwork. So that's only just noticed that. Right, okay, so that was my haul from Penny Lane. So then we went round to Ride On Super Sound. And this is the first time I've been to the shop, and they are in the little wee shop that used to be Galaxy Records. The place is looking really good. Yeah, the guy that works here, like I say, he used to be the barman, so I had a little chat with him. He remembers me and recognises me. He knows my name. I'm not sure what his name is. So I had a look through there. They have a really cool little well-curated collection and some great second-hand stuff, actually. And Lynn was pulling out some Jam records and showing them to me, and there was some Zappa, and there was some, really tempting stuff, some good punk stuff, a couple of New Zealand stuff I didn't really know what it was. So anyway, I grabbed several things off him. I mean, unfortunately, there wasn't a sale, but I got a bunch of stuff. This one here was one I've been humming and hurrying about, because this is the latest issue, latest record out on 112 Records, and I seem to buy most of their stuff. This is called by a band called Ounce, and they actually played here just recently, which is probably why they had a copy of the record. And the guy at the shop said it was a pretty good damn gig. He would like to get them. They would like to see them play again. So this is their latest record, OZ, I think, OZ or O2. So still sealed. Haven't opened that yet. I did have a quick listen to it on Bandcamp, I think. This was on my want list. The Cavemen, I actually have their second LP I have on vinyl, and I haven't got around to getting their first one, but this was the latest one. It's actually out on Slovenly Records. So what's it called? Nuke. This is raw garage punk, really raw, but really cool. Naughty back cover there. Hope you're not offended by that, but it's quite disgusting. Actually, down in that shop they had a bunch of these rockabilly records with absolutely pornographic covers. This was on my want list at Flying Out. Let's take it out of the Raiden Freeman, Deep Farm. It's not here, but keep looking. New Zealand comedy. So I'm not actually sure about what this. Why the New Zealand comedy? I'm not sure about that. I hope this is music. Sure it is. I know Chris Walker had this record, because I'm sure he mentioned it. I don't know if he played anything of it. Yeah. Prison Tapes. That's interesting. New Zealand comedy. Wonder why it says that. It says all songs written. Yeah, this is from 2017. Prison Tapes. Okay, might have to do a bit more research on that. Still, it wasn't too dear. I think Chris said that was quite cool. And then, I'd seen on Super Sound, I'd seen on their Facebook page a while back, and there were some photos, and there was a picture of a record on their wall, and I knew the record. It's been one I've looking for a while, and it was one that Chris Walker had shown on one of his very first YouTube videos that he made. And lo and behold, after these couple of 3 months, it was still in the thing. Now, it's second hand, I believe, but it's in bloody good nick, and I picked it up for a good price. I'm not sure how. I think it's reasonably rare, because I have not seen it around anywhere else. Pine. I do remember Pine seeing a nice video of a song. I don't know whether it's on this record way back, and quite enjoyed it. So I think it's quite a nice little chamber pop sort of thing. So I'm really pleased to find that, and I did not have to pay too much for it, and it's pretty. It looks like it's in almost brand new condition. And last one, and possibly the find of the day, and I did pay a little bit more than I'd like to for it, but I have been looking for it, and this fills another little gap in my Builderine discography, especially the earlier stuff. What year would this be? 1984. Okay, there we go. So split second. So I saw it up there, and whoa! Actually, I paid more than the $50 I'd like to pay for records, but I have been sort of forced to over the recent times by getting records I really want to get, and I am collecting a lot of the early Builderine stuff, and I did show one recently that I picked up and didn't need, and that one of those reissues, but this is, I think, an original, although I think there was a second printing or something, so I'm not sure. But it's sort of self-released, isn't it? Or Full Moon Publishing. So I don't know. I think it's kind of self-released. I think it's sort of, according to Discogs, it's part of the South Indies which is Bill's label that he released a lot of his stuff and some other obscure Christchurch stuff. So always good. So that's probably the score of the day, along with the Mothers of Invention record. So wow, what's that? 25 records. So I didn't pick up quite as last year. I believe I picked up 29, but there were a lot of cheaper ones that I picked up. I didn't go through all those other sort of bins by the counter. To be honest, I got a bit sick of looking through bins after about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So you know, and her wife did really well. She picked up a whole bunch of DVD movies like she does. So there we go. Sorry, 30 minutes. It's a pretty long video. I hope you managed to stick with me. So that's Record Store Day for 2019. I didn't actually spend all of the money I had available, but that's fine. I've got some new, what do you call them, pre-orders and stuff like that. New albums that are coming out or have just come out that weren't available, obviously, second half price. So I'm looking into those with the rest of that money. Anyway, happy Record Store Day. I'm going to post this video up straight away. It'll take me a couple of hours to load it, so you'll see this later tonight. And I hope you're all having a good Record Store Day and having plenty of good scores. But you know, 50% off, man, that is so good. So they keep doing that every year. I'll keep going back. Cheers.